To you, Prof. So the Pfizer vaccine has been authorized now in South Africa for emergency use. How many COVID vaccines in total are actually authorized for use in South Africa now?
Well, in the first instance, we authorized the AstraZeneca, but then we had the problem that we're all now familiar with of how effective it was going to be against the variant. We've now got the J&J vaccine, which is the 3B trial for healthcare workers that is being rolled out, and that's got approval as a 3B trial. That means it's open label, there's no placebo or dummy vaccine. Everyone gets the vaccine, but it is still under research conditions, and we're collecting safety and effectiveness. And now we've got the Pfizer, which is also an emergency use. And that will be available for the rollout. And we have several other vaccines that are pending, like the J&J again, exploring either registration or emergency use. And we're in conversation with a number of other manufacturers as well.
All right, so one of the things that we know is that the Novavax vaccine, which of course has also been trialled here, seems to be the most effective at this point in dealing with the variant that is dominant here in South Africa. Is that also being applied for use here in South Africa?
It's difficult to say that it's the most effective because, in fact, in terms, it's a bit complicated because in these clinical trials there are different endpoints. It can be mild to moderate disease, moderate to severe disease, hospitalization. And unfortunately, the trials themselves aren't consistent, so their definitions are a little bit different. So Novavax wasn't highly effective in the mild to moderate and moderate to severe disease end, but looks to be very effective at the very severe disease hospitalization end of things. At the moment, they haven't applied, but there are other companies that are in discussion, such as the Gamaleya Institute with their Sputnik, and the Sinovac, which is one of the Chinese vaccines. So there are a number of other vaccines that are in discussion with SAPRA.
I'm completely intrigued by Cuba developing its own vaccine, the sovereign vaccine. We've got such good relations with Cuba, particularly on the health front. Is that something that's being strongly explored? Perhaps we could get vaccines from Cuba?
Well, the exploring with different manufacturers is done by the Department of Health. But what SAPRA has asked, we are the regulatory authority, we said to the department, if you're in a conversation with a manufacturer and it looks like they're willing to sell some vaccines to us, either directly or through the COVAX facility, if that looks like it's a possibility, please make sure that they get into conversation with the regulatory authority as soon as possible. So to date, we haven't had any approaches from Cuba, but the regulator is open to talking to everyone who's got a candidate vaccine. We don't know at this.
I think we've just lost you. I'm just going to pick up again. Sorry, carry on, Helen.
Oh, okay. So where would you like me to carry on?
Literally, like two sentences back is where technology decided to to blink out on us.
I'm sorry. I hope that's not ESCOM. Well, no. What I was saying was the regulator is open to discussions with anyone who's in the advanced stage of development of a vaccine, because what we need are vaccines, and we need to see vaccines that look very hopeful that they will be effective against the variant that is the dominant variant in South Africa. So
it looks like we're going to be definitely missing that end of March deadline to inoculate 1 million people. And my understanding is that we're still under phase 1 with healthcare workers. Phase 2 is meant to be the big show, the big rollout of lots and lots of vaccines every single day. We are racing against time, worried about Easter being a potential super spreader, worried about winter. Realistically, are we going to really make much headway at all in phase 2 before the third wave hits?
Well, it depends when the third wave hits. So I think you mentioned Easter, and I think a very important message that we're all wanting to put out is that we really are appealing to people to be very, very careful over Easter, and it can't be business as usual. I mean, we know that people really enjoy mass gatherings, religious gatherings, social gatherings, sports gatherings. It just can't happen this year. It really can't happen. If we do that, the third wave will come earlier. And as you say, we're far from where we would want to be with rolling out vaccines. I think some encouraging news, though, is that I understand from the department that the Pfizer vaccine there'll be about 600,000 doses, I've been told, by the end of this month. And the rollout infrastructure has been worked on extensively by all the provinces and by the national department and the laboratories, and the online vaccine recording data set. All of that has been, extensively developed. But, we can't get away. We want to roll it out as soon as possible, and that's different for a 3D trial.
Prof, I have to ask you, there is a move by some private companies, Sibanye-Stillwater, to actually do the job for government to a certain extent, import vaccines for their workers. Would you support that?
Well, I think at the moment, I don't think that that's going to be possible because the way that government has framed the purchasing. What would be important from the regulatory point of view is whoever wants to import, whether it's government, whether it ends up being the private sector. As I say, that's currently not the arrangement, but or if it's a donation, whatever is the arrangement, they have to have approval from the regulatory authority. So whether it's a clinical trial or it's a rollout vaccine, it has to be approved by the regulator. Nobody can just import because of our joint enthusiasm to import. You can't do it. You have to have approval.
Right, so it would have to come through you. Thank you so much for chatting to us, Professor Helen Rees, Head of the SA Health Products Regulatory Authority.